I'm gonna tell y'all right now, all of these wonderful people would not be here without Patreon supporters like you. If you enjoy credible news, reviews, and commentary on UFOs and UAPs 5 days a week, you want to support this show. What's your name? Marty. Marty, look how easy this is, Marty. Pick up your phone. Boom! You're a Patreon member. I mean, look, it's so easy. You just click the link, which is right here. Just for $1 a month, you can support this show. Just fill out the information and pledge what's comfortable for you. It could be $1, $5, $10, or who knows. Just support.
Welcome to another week here at the Unidentified Celebrity Review. It's going to be a fun show today. We'll be starting up in just a few minutes with science guy Bob McGwier. But first, I want to talk about something very interesting, a paper that I literally stumbled on this weekend. I was searching and reading articles about different interpretations of Schrödinger's equation, and this seemingly completely unrelated gem popped up in my browser. Negative effective mass in plasmonic systems. This paper from 2020, authored by Edward Bormashenko, head of the Laboratory of Interface Science at Ariel University, talks about some very unusual properties of materials made of plasma. The whole field was new to me. I, of course, am familiar with the concept of plasma, a high-energy state of matter that is neither liquid, gas, nor solid. I was also aware of the potential relationship between plasmas and orb-like UAPs, such as the Hessdalen lights. And I probably have used the term plasmoid before, but I didn't really know what it was until I went down this rabbit hole this weekend. A plasmoid is a coherent structure of plasma and magnetic fields. Objects where the magnetic fields capture and contain the plasma mass. And aside from being stunning orbs of energy, a familiar concept to this show, these things have very unusual properties. The one that drew me in was the title of the paper, Negative Effective Mass. Now this probably isn't quite as astounding as it sounds. Negative effective mass is not the same as actual negative mass. It just means that in some situations, it behaves as if it does have negative mass. Air bubbles in water will accelerate up if you push the water down. It's another example of objects, air bubbles here, having negative mass in a particular scenario. But the negative effective mass of these plasmoids, as described in Bormashenko's paper, seems different. Normally, when you put pressure on a material, it compresses somewhat. Bormashenko describes a plasmoid metamaterial which expands when a force acts on it. The force in question in the paper are sound waves. Essentially, this plasmoid meets the sound wave with force, providing true and complete noise suppression. And this is only scratching the surface. I'm digging deep on these plasmoids and how they might relate to UAP or our attempts at recreating UAP. And I'll be presenting my findings over on my channel, Rather Be Squidding. So make sure you're subscribed over there. And if any of the 79 of you watching right now, or anyone watching in the future, are not subscribed to this channel or the Singularity Lab, you're missing out. And you'll see why now as we crank up the fun and the weirdness. We are down a Michael Mataluni today, but let's hear it for the OG host of the Unidentified Celebrity Review, Luis Jimenez.
Hello, Rather. What's going on?
Not a lot. How you doing, Lou?
I'm doing good. You ready to be my co-host for the day? To step up?
Yeah, missing Mike, but hopefully he's doing well.
We do have a poll going. I'll read the poll before we get started. What happened to Mike today? He's sick, like he says he is. Nope, he's playing hooky. He's probably taking mushrooms, or he's fighting evil Mike.
Yeah, he could be in the outer core of Earth fighting Metal Mike. That's my guess.
Yeah, indeed. Well, hello, good morning, good evening, good day, good afternoon, and aloha. Welcome back to another episode of the Unidentified Celebrity Review, your home for credible news, reviews, and commentary on everything UAP and UFOs. My name is Luis Jimenez. That is rather Be Squidding joining me today. Before we get started, want to say thank you to Das Tapes. They provide all the tunes that you hear on the show. Their Bandcamp link is in the description below. Also want to say thank you to BlueMarlinChronicles.com, purveyors of the world's finest fishing tackle since 1995. This show is not possible without them. With all of that out of the way, of course, don't forget to like, subscribe, share the channel. See, 92 of you guys in here. It's growing by the second. Share the show. We're going to have Science Bob McGwier here talking everything scientific about UAPs, and we're going to dig into how he got his name, why they call him Science Bob. I'm curious because I don't know the story, so I want to know the story behind that. I'm guessing it has something to do with the multiple PhDs and degrees he has in science, but we'll find out. So with all that out of the way, you guys, don't forget to check out the Patreon. It's a great way to support the show. We provide a show 5 days a week for you here. We're basically a public access channel. We are here because of viewers like you. So thank you all so much to the people who can and do contribute, and the people who can't, don't sweat it. Don't worry about it, baby. We got you covered. You get the same show as everybody else. Just like, subscribe, and share. That's all we ask to do. Rather, am I missing anything? Did I forget anything, Rather?
I think you got it all, yeah. Like, subscribe, and share.
Right.
Doesn't cost a thing.
Yeah, sounds like the thing, right? So without further ado, we have Mr. Science Bob McGwier. He's an adjunct professor at Virginia Tech, also a member and supporter of SkyHub, and founder of the Federated Wireless and Hawkeye 360, with a BS from Auburn University and Ph.D. from Brown in applied math. Bob has some amazing thoughts and opinions on the UAP phenomena, and I cannot wait to dig into it with him. Mr. Bob McGwier, how are you, sir? Welcome to the show.
I'm happy to be here. Like I said, we had so much fun on Spaced Out Radio. I'm
glad
to be interacting again.
Yeah, man, it was fun. Well, that's why I asked you to come on the show, because we did have some pretty decent conversations there. I mean, it's a 3-hour show, so we were there for quite a bit. And yeah, in that 3 hours, I found you very interesting, compelling, and fun. So I was like, let's bring Bob on. I mean, it's only natural. So Bob, I guess let's start at the beginning because I just read off, where you went to school, where you teach, Auburn and Brown, degrees in applied math, and you're an adjunct professor at Virginia Tech. So what's the origin story of Bob McGwier? What was he like as a kid? Where'd you grow up? How did you get into science and become this lovable nerd that you are?
Well, so the story is actually kind of interesting, and it took me until almost my current retired age to get all of it right, because I had to go back and ask family and friends. But anyway, so I was born in Tennessee, and before the age of 1, I moved to Alabama, where I stayed until I graduated from Auburn. Okay, so by the time I was age 3, I woke up one day and went in where my mother was with her friend, and I started reading off records, and they tested me, and somehow, miraculous, without any instruction, overnight I had taught myself how to read. Or something else taught me how to read, because before the age of 1, I had encephalitis, and I arrested 3 times. So technically, without me even remembering it, I had 3 NDEs. So,
so an
and
NDE, just to clarify for new folks to the phenomenon, near-death experiences, right?
Yes. Okay. So before I was 1, now this is straight from my mother's mouth and my uncle's mouth, telling me I died 3 times before they got my temperature down, and they told my mother that I would probably be a vegetable or at least brain damaged. And
wow.
Yeah. But by the time I was 3, I was reading. By the time I was 10, I had my amateur radio license. I had built a telescope. I had microscopes. I helped my neighbor build the largest private fossil collection in the state of Alabama, privately held. And I had turned into a unicorn by the time I was age 10, and that continued throughout high school. So I graduated high school, didn't quite know what I wanted to do. So I went to college with my girlfriend. And one weekend on a Friday, I picked her up at her dorm and began driving us home to our home in Southwest Alabama. And all of a sudden, we find ourselves awake and in the middle of nowhere, no idea how we had gotten there, and we had over an hour of missing time. So we kind of just didn't think about it, because who'd ever heard of missing time? I mean, we hadn't. We were 2 young goofballs in Alabama. We hadn't heard of Betty and Barney Hill or anybody else. We just said, okay, we got lost and we must have gone to sleep. Okay.
What year was this, Bob?
1972.
Okay.
Okay. So anyway, a week and a half later, I tossed off everything I was doing. I changed my idea of what I wanted to be. I changed the university I was going to Auburn, and I became a mathematics and engineering major at Auburn, took a ton of physics, and that set my life. But I mean, it was like abrupt. Missing time incident, 2 weeks later, I'm different. And it was just weird. Okay. So then I had a bunch of odd things go on throughout my life. I just had an interesting career. I spent 27 years working nonstop, working for the intelligence community. I worked part-time before then, and then after I left the intelligence community, I retired from there and went to Virginia Tech and helped start up the Hume Center for National Security and Technology, which is now the largest funded research center at Virginia Tech. Wow. So I became the chief scientist and led all sorts of things. Stood up 3 different labs while I was the chief scientist, research director, and then chief scientist. And when all of the stuff hit with COVID and other things, I went, okay, I've started 2 companies. Both of them are successful. I'm going to do something with one of them. And I retired. And I gave up my security clearance, and now I'm adjunct. I'm going to go do research projects part-time at Virginia Tech for the next couple of 3 years, because I've had some interesting things I want to do. So but during that time, right before I decided to leave, what really pushed me in kind of this direction? So I heard from the grapevine inside, I saw evidence, etc., that
inside
things
the
were
intelligence community.
Oh yes.
Okay.
I saw most of the pictures you have now seen, and was told about the videos you have now seen. I've seen some others that I'm not going to discuss, and I've heard about other things that I'm not going to discuss. But because I had an NDA, and my particular NDA is lifelong. Okay, so I just tell you, I saw stuff and it's interesting, and you haven't seen the best stuff yet. Okay, so I got interested, so I started going where anybody who doesn't have access goes. I went on YouTube and started reading books. So I heard Grant Cameron and Richard Dolan and other interesting people. And because I've been a part of and supportive of the national security state in the United States to a very high level, I read Richard Dolan's books, and I joined the Richard Dolan Members and Forum. He interviewed Chris Bledsoe. So I called up Chris Bledsoe and asked him, could I come over and visit? Chris took a little time to say yes, but when we finally went over, Chris and I went outside and observed, and we saw UFOs, orbs, and all sorts of weird things. And Chris and I became friends. And within a few weeks of going home, I had a hitchhiker, which for everybody who's ever been to a weird place, you can have hitchhikers and that go home with you after weird experiences. And we did here. And there were many things that happened. Apports, miraculous healings, other things happened. So I called Chris on the phone and committed to helping him do some stuff. So then COVID hit, and between Chris and COVID hitting, I just said, I've had enough. I can go home, buy a nice house and a nice piece of land, do the things I want to do in Alabama comfortably. And so I did. So that is the really quick version of my biography.
Well, I appreciate it, Bob.
Yeah,
go for it, rather.
Well, I just kind of want to dig into your UFO interest. So, like, before you went to the intelligence community and saw, is that this thing that sparked your interest? I guess I'm wondering what your attitude was when you went into the intelligence community.
I was a complete space nut as a kid. Okay, so my dad had me up watching the moon landing. I built rockets. I had a camera rocket in 1968 and 69. And I was taking movies and photos with rockets I built, mostly from Estes, these rockets, and they worked well. I built a telescope, and my mother tells me, because I don't remember, that she would come out regularly when I was out in my front yard with my telescope and wondering why I had been out there for 3 or 4 hours. And I would tell her, no, it's only been a few minutes. And she would assure me that it was 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and I had been out there. So I now believe that those were missing time incidents, but I don't remember what happened. And for various reasons, I'm not a customer for a regression. So I'm just telling you, I had interesting things happen. I saw interesting things, as lots of my neighbors and friends and relatives did. So there was lots of things going on in Southwest Alabama that have just never been reported on.
I am a little curious because you did. I want to touch a little bit on your security clearance, the job that you had within intelligence. How were you approached? Was that something that you fell into naturally? And if so, no. Okay.
No. I took a course at Auburn.
Okay.
From a professor, and he dramatically influenced my life. I was going to be an electrical engineer, and after getting engaged with him, I decided I would go ahead and finish my engineer, but I would get a degree in mathematics because I thought that was the longer term goal for me, was to be an applied mathematician with engineering and physics knowledge. Okay, so I took a course from him, and I must have really impressed him. But he called up the right people, and they asked me to visit and told me that they wanted to give me a job in the summers while I was going to graduate school, got me a security clearance, and that's how it started.
What's the summers?
The summers between the regular school year.
Got it.
I worked during
I thought summers
vacations.
was like a secret.
No. I worked during summer vacations.
Okay, so what were you doing as a college kid can you talk about what you were doing for the intelligence department at that time?
I can't, because from the very first day, I had a TS-SCI clearance. I went from 0 to right in at the top.
Wow.
And I worked for the Institute for Defense Analyses as my first job in the actual intelligence community. As far as security clearance, before I did that, I worked at Sandia Labs for a year with a Q clearance.
Can you state if you were working on like science projects or like actual intelligence gathering of assets?
No.
It
was science and engineering projects to do intelligence gathering. I did technical intelligence collection.
AJW asks, how long did it take you to get a security clearance?
So my first one, which was the Q clearance, took about 2 months. And when I decided I was going to go to work for the big boy intelligence community, they did a background investigations. They went and interviewed everybody that ever knew me. And that took about 4 months.
Okay.
Because they could take their time because I wasn't going to go until the summer.
Right. There's another question here from Harvinder Sunila. Bob, you said you retired from the intelligence community. Do those who work in the intelligence community really retire from it?
Let me tell you technically what that means.
Okay.
It means I no longer have access to the daily stuff that goes on. So I'm not exposed to new stuff because I'm not working on anything for them.
Right.
But whenever you're in the intelligence community, you sign non-disclosure agreements, which have multiple year to lifelong commitments. And all of my last ones where I signed an NDA, those are lifelong commitments up until the people above it and in control of it declassify the material. So in other words, I'll never be able to talk about the stuff I did in the last, 10 or 15 years of my career.
Can I ask you, was it fun to work on? Like, were you having fun doing it? Or was it like one of these jobs where you showed up and you're like, God, not again. I got to deal with this.
No. I had the best computers in the world, the best toys in the world. I got to develop things that nobody else could work on. And then my last kind of between 1991 or so and 2002, I spent about as much time outside of the United States as I spent inside the United States. So it was a really, really interesting career. I mean, it was loads of fun. And I saw places in the world that almost no one will ever see unless they do that kind of thing.
Is there, rather, you got a question? I can see it on your face.
Well, yeah, I mean, I know you can't divulge too much of what you were doing and stuff, but I wonder if you can answer this question. Do you get the sense that the intelligence community has a handle on like UAP and all this issue, or do you think that there's still some unknowns there and some stuff that they can't figure out?
I believe that there are unacknowledged, waived special access programs where the actual maximal amount of knowledge is in the hands of under 300 or 400 people. And even there, it's going to be divided into pieces, and no one will know everything except a small handful of people.
That does sound like a lot, though, Bob. I mean, I can't.
Like, imagine the Manhattan Project.
400 won't know everything.
Right. No. So, I got that.
So they'll be divided into small teams working on small individual pieces.
Right.
And so, this is very inefficient, but it's needed for security. Okay.
Right.
So outside of that, other people will have regularly seen evidence in all of our national technical means that these things are coming and going, and they will have been told to shut their mouth forever and signed an NDA before they leave for the day. Okay, so they won't know anything, even though they've seen enough to know.
Is there any reason that they give you for the NDA? Because I understand means and stuff. They don't want to get that.
Okay, so it depends. Okay, so a person like me that signed an NDA, the reason I signed an NDA is to get the need to know and control the stuff. So once someone had said, hey, we want you to work on this project. And I would go, well, tell me a little something about it. And it says, we can tell you this much and that you're perfect for it. And then you go, okay, what do I have to do? You got to sign this NDA. And then they tell you all the secrets.
Yeah.
And so, but so even if you hate it and don't do it, you're now required to protect those secrets forever. But once you've signed this and you agree to go to work on it, you pretty much know everything in that project. And that's the way it works.
Did everybody in these projects call you Science Bob? When did you get that name?
No.
When did Science Bob
tell you? That's you probably should have already guessed, but let me tell you.
Yeah.
I would never call myself Science Bob. Okay, so
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure that name was given to you.
No, it was given to me. And you probably can guess if you think hard enough who gave me that nickname.
Was it Dave Scott?
Dave Scott.
All right. Okay, cool. So has the name stuck? Do you like?
Oh, absolutely.
When people see you around, they're like, Science Bob.
Yeah. So after a year and a half of it, I just changed my Twitter handle to Science Bob, and my Facebook name is Science Bob. So it just has stuck.
Well, there is something on your Twitter handle that I meant to ask you what it meant, and it was let me look it up right now. By the way, I've got Bob's Twitter handle in the description below, but it's Bob McGwier _N4HY. What does that mean?
Okay, at age 10, I became a very young amateur radio operator. And when you have an amateur radio license, the Federal Communications Commission issues you a call sign. And so that's like my fighter handle.
I love it.
N4HY is my fighter handle.
Oh, cool. Do you still play around with ham radios?
Every day since I was 10 years old.
Really? What's your favorite thing to do with the ham radios?
Okay, so
God, I just want Bob to be my grandpa.
Okay,
I just want Bob to be in my house so I can visit him in his little shed, doing experiments, and I can just sit here and ask you questions all day.
That right there, you can see through my window, is my shop. It's large, and through those doors is my amateur radio shack, and the antennas are down at the other. So anyway, well, look, I mean, you can Google me. And you can find out that I have built spacecraft for amateur radio, and was vice president of engineering for the AMSAT, which is the Radio Amateur Satellite Corporation. We built a ton of spacecraft. And I wrote satellite tracking software in the 1980s that was everywhere, and adapted it for small personal computers, which went out everywhere and allowed amateur radio operators to automatically track spacecraft in the 1980s and 90s. Wow. And it raised most of the money needed to build those spacecraft and get them into orbit.
You ever track anything that wasn't a satellite?
Oh, Lord, yes. Oh, yes. Yeah. Also, so that's what SkyHub was all about. Right. And its early predecessor, which lasted about 4 months before it was decided that's not the right structure, and we went on and do the SkyHub, and that work is still ongoing and very early. Okay, so in amateur radio, you can go find in YouTube a story by Gerald Youngblood of Flex Radio called The Accidental Company, and in that video you can see that he credits me with being the architect for the radios that his company now sells. And so I did radio design. I was a designer in GNU Radio. I held the first conference with a peer who is now works at for a federally funded research and development center, MITRE Corporation, as a very high executive. So he and I started the GNU Radio conference and worked on GNU Radio, which is an open source software defined radio for people to use in labs and colleges to do all sorts of. So look, I have had a long and varied technical career. I've done all sorts of things. And so I think the best characterization that I've ever heard someone else apply to me, because I didn't apply it to myself, was my best friend Frank Brickle, who said that I was a polymath, and I had to look it up in the dictionary and it fits. So I guess if you want to call me a name, you can call me a polymath.
What's the definition of polymath?
It means talented in multiple fields.
There you go. Almost kind of like a Renaissance man a little bit.
Well, I think that's a little too strong, because I am not Albert Einstein, Isaac Newton, or Leonardo da Vinci, and they are.
Yeah. But you want to know something? No, I think, though, Bob, there have been a lot of Albert Einsteins, Leonardo da Vinci's, Vincent van Goghs who've never been discovered. They just never, for whatever reason, they never hit big. But here's a cool question from Michael Huntington, and then we got a $40 donation question from MP. He asks, did you ever ham radio with Art Bell?
Yes. I talked to him on the air, and we exchanged these little postcards called QSL cards, and I have one from Art Bell.
What's your favorite memory of Art?
Well, that's it, because that's the only interaction with him I ever had.
Oh, okay.
I never listened to Coast to Coast. It just wasn't my thing.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Why wasn't it your thing at the time?
Because
let me ask you this.
I literally laid all of that interest down as a curiosity until I started hearing the rumors inside the government. And that's when my curiosity just overwhelmed me.
Gotcha. So $40 donation from MP. Thank you so much, man. You support the show in so many ways. We really appreciate it. Mr. Bob, thanks for coming on the show. Can you say if you did work to enhance the collection of capabilities of the rest of the intel agencies, NSA, FBI, CIA, DOD, or to develop capabilities that were new?
All of the above.
Very cryptic. Is there anything... I guess do you have any frustrations working in this industry of secrets? And maybe you've developed, like you were just saying, how you developed software for satellites to track satellites in the early 80s. Is there anything like that's sort of that equivalent where you're super proud of it, but you can't talk about it because of an NDA?
Yeah. So, okay, I told you that in the early 2000s, I heavily influenced a company called Flex Radio in Austin, Texas, helped them write software, helped them design the new styles of radios that they currently market. And they've done all the technical work. What I did was draw block diagrams and showed them how the math worked and did some code to show them their hardware work. And then said, okay, look, I don't have time to finish this. You're going to have to hire people and finish it yourself. And that's the way it went. They've done all the hard work, though I had the initial concepts of how it ought to work. Okay. All right. So, but it was clear to them that I was doing it long time before the company was breaking out big. And I called up the owner and said, look, for free, I will help you do this software-defined radio stuff in amateur radio because I'd love to see it done. And I will do all this work for free. And I had my sponsors fly me down to Austin, Texas. And I literally spent months inside this guy's shop. And we worked on this stuff together before it took off. And no one knew it. Okay, so what should be clear to you is I was doing software-defined radio long before others in the world were doing software-defined radio to any extent. And Dr. Joseph Mottola is largely credited with being kind of the inventor of the concept of software-defined radio. And he will tell you that it was actually me doing hard work on the inside, doing the stuff and developing it. And he developed the high-level concepts, which made it win. And he published a book and a paper. And to tell you that I'm good friends with Joe, so you can go check it out for yourself. It's easy to check that he and I founded Federated Wireless together. So we've had an ongoing association for decades. But he published all the big papers while I did all the actual work to deploy software-defined radios before almost anyone else has. And the first hint you get that I was doing this work is you can go back and look up the AMSAT AMSAT TAPR Tapper DSP project in the 1980s, and that was the genesis of the software-defined radio in my mind.
We got a $4.99 donation from Julie Welchell, and she says, "Love you, Bob." Just simple.
I love Jules of the Woods. She's a great person, and she and I have become friends. And I look forward to meeting her and her husband when we can finally get together. We've waited for COVID and hurricanes because we both live in Alabama.
Oh, okay, cool. I didn't know she lived in Alabama. And just real quick, thank you to Tina Tamazuski, one of our moderators in the chat, always showing love and support in the chat here. We've also got Artemis Prime looking after you guys in the chat. So if you guys have any questions or you need a link, just hit them up and they will set you right. Real quick, we're at the half-hour mark, so let's reset the room. If you guys are just joining us, Michael Mataluni is out today. He's sick. We do have a poll to determine whether or not he's lying. Looks like everybody thinks he's taking mushrooms. We'll see what the poll says in the half hour. We do have Science Bob McGwier, a new friend of the show. We had a really cool discussion on Spaced Out Radio. Bob has a bunch of degrees in applied math, and what's your favorite science to study, Bob?
Well, mathematics, I love it. But the reason I love mathematics so much is it makes the study of engineering and physics much easier for me to attain up to a really high level. So I can do theoretical and applied physics and theoretical and applied engineering, and I have done both. So the Hume Center was largely an engineering exercise, though we did have some science stuff like computer science and other things. So
Cool.
yeah, it's just been an interesting life, and I've had fun.
If you guys are enjoying the conversation, please do me the favor, like, subscribe, share the channel, check out the Patreon. There are great ways to support the show. Thank you guys so much for all of the super chat questions so far. Kashi Chris with a $3 super sticker. Thank you so much, you guys. Cannot appreciate you enough. We do have a question from my executive producer, Alex Garcia. And his question was, can Bob tell us why there's so much secrecy around projects that are not a threat?
I do not know the answer. Remember, I'm not read into them, but there is this secrecy. I know that it's the interest in this subject has been hidden because I've seen the interest on the inside. So you've seen papers, et cetera, come out of various agencies that I saw long before I came out, and I won't name the ones I saw, but you have seen a bunch of the ones I've seen, and so I knew there was an interest. And I knew the public was being deceived, and I don't know why. Now, here's what it feels like to me. Right after World War II, we were in a hyper secure situation because we were still living with the hyper paranoia of having just won World War II, and then we created atomic weapons. And all of a sudden, something happened. In and around New Mexico, White Sands, etc., and a really, really heavy hand was taken in covering that stuff up and doing whatever they did, whatever they found. And I think to admit what they found would now give credence to all the horror stories you have heard, Kevin Randall, etc., talk about that went on in and around Roswell. And to me, a lot of those things are crimes. And if it's admitted to and to in a way that will allow the government to be sued, federal courts will probably allow the government to be sued. So in other words, it's a mess. So they began going down the secret road at Harry Truman's orders and then formed a committee to govern the control of this. And it just has gone on and got out of control. And now they're having a real trouble figuring out how to get it open safely. And I think that there is a move to try to open up, but it's got to be done in a way that doesn't wreck the way the government works.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, sorry, brother. He was pushing a little bit. He was like, well, what's his opinion? If he doesn't know, do you have an opinion on maybe why? I mean, you kind of did share it a little bit.
Oh yeah. No, here's what I think. Yeah. I think that they decided to cover up Roswell, and Harry Truman was still the president. And then they kept seeing stuff. They didn't quite know what to make of it. And then you had the overflight over the Capitol building and the White House in 1952. Right. And Harry freaked out. We know that. He absolutely freaked out. And he believed, and I bet a bunch of his generals convinced him, that this was reconnaissance in preparation for an attack by an alien species. And the government just got very tight, very crazy, and just went a look. And that's not me having read stuff and knowing it. It's me knowing how the government works and how our president can command the entire armed forces and all of the executive branch to care about nothing till his answers are given. And he demanded answers on those things that flew over the Capitol in 1952, and he didn't get it before he had to leave office.
What was your question? Sorry.
Well, I mean, hearing this is awesome, but it's also frustrating, right? That the government might have a lot of this information that seems like it should be public information, but they're, hiding it for whatever reason. And I guess, my question is, what can we do? What short of rushing and storming Area 51, what kind of pressure can we apply on Congress, and what can we do to?
Well, they've given us a wedge, and the wedge is this report. And then Catherine Hicks, who's the Deputy Secretary of Defense, has stood up a much more formal study with higher ranking and higher cleared people in charge of the study and promised the Congress a much better report in September. So I think what you want to do, and everybody listening wants to do, is write your congressmen and senators and demand for there to be public hearings. Why? What is different about a public hearing in front of Congress? You cannot go testify to them and tell a lie.
Right.
If you get a question,
well, you can, but you
and there's some consequences.
But you're going to jail.
Right.
Okay. So, and this is the thing that they have desperately tried to avoid. Can you imagine them hauling somebody in front of them and say, "Okay, we've had it. Tell us all about Roswell." And in my opinion, in the last month or so, we've begun to see the counterattack. And by that, I mean stories which kind of just look like they're going to be positive, and then they go really, really negative and try to destroy your confidence. And I'm going to give you the perfect example. There was a 4-episode thing on Showtime that looked like it was going to be really positive. And then on the 3rd episode, you had the former director of MUFON, James Campion, come in, and he basically called everybody an idiot that ever believed this stuff. And the premise was that every UFO thing that's ever been has been a cover-up for a classified project. And it was clear to build you up and then tear you all the way down. That to me is a classic government-sponsored PSYOP. And so and anybody that ever thought this was going to be easy has been living a daydream or haven't paid attention.
See, I watched it. We're going to review it on Wednesday. And I'm thinking John Greenwald's going to be here. I'll let you guys know for sure. I kind of liked it. I'm not going to lie. I thought it presented a really nice, even telling of both sides of what it could be. It didn't give you any answers. It just basically laid out sort of what's going on. And I think let the viewer decide whether or not this is something to be interested in. But you were speaking of write a letter to Congress, and that just reminded me, we've got our Big Phone Home website up and it's running. Just so you guys know, we've got 18 days and 11 hours left until the Big Phone Home 2. And the very first thing here that we have is a petition to Senate and Congress. It's a super, super, super easy, quick petition to sign. It takes literally 2 minutes, and boom, you've done your activism for the day.
And
it's super easy.
If you'll only supply your zip code, which I bet you have, they will identify your congressman and senator and send it to the right place.
That's our second. Well, actually, this petition is particularly targeted at the Senate Intelligence Committee and the oversight committees that have to do with the UAP topic. So it's designated, and the script, the template that was written for this petition was written by Tommy Zito, who just had a really, really great response from one of his congressmen, but it took him 2 years to get it. 2 years. So we got to be annoying, you guys. And that's why we have multiple ways to contact your representatives. Bob was just saying you put in your zip code, and that's our step 2 here. All you got to do is click it, and you put in your zip code, and it finds everybody who's represented in your area and the House of Representatives, and also right here for the U.S. Senate. So all you got to do is put in your zip code, and it'll give you the phone number and the mailing address, and then you just come here. You've got your script, your bullet points if you want to make a phone call, all the things that we're asking for in this Big Phone Home 2. And then if you want to write an email, or if you want to print out these letters and mail them to Congress, these are great tools for you to use. We've got a template written by John Greenwald, Alex Garcia, who's our producer. We've got a template written by our own Rather Be Squidding, who's got a template. And we got another template, the same template from Tommy Zito, and another template from Alex Sears, who is a journalist over at the Daily Caller. So you've got, I think, 6 different templates to choose from. So you've got variety. You can pick your favorite person and go with that. But the point is if you're emailing, the reason why we have these many templates is so nothing repeats and nothing gets filtered out by AI. So take advantage of these tools, you guys. Go to thebigphonehome.com. If you really want change on this topic, this is a great tool to do it with. So I didn't want to turn this into a Big Phone Home commercial, but
no, you should.
It, so I just want to give people the tools. So if they do want to reach out to their congressman, they could do so right now, and it's quick. Wanted to get to this $10 or this 10-pound donation. Thank you, rather, for pulling it up. Loved your interview with Project Unity and Mr. Bledsoe. I know Mr. Bledsoe believes his lady is connected to the White Buffalo woman, but I have found many more connections, even a lady in ancient Rome. Okay, you got to give me a little background on this because I have no idea what Zofa's talking about.
Okay, so Chris had his initial experience that he can recall in 2007 on the Cape Fear River near his home in North Carolina. And James Campion, the guy I was dumping on from the Showtime deal, was the head of MUFON at the time, and came and I thought ran roughshod over Chris and made his life a living hell for 5 long years. Okay, so in 2012, he had a new experience at Easter. And during that experience, he was visited, according to him, by this white lady that's not unlike many other white ladies or Madonnas or whatever in history. So he was visited by somebody who gave him this kind of prophetic message and told him he was going to be doing stuff that was necessary. And so this is Chris's story. Just though I've experienced things with Chris, as have many others, I have never seen this, and so I don't have an interpretation. Where he has an interpretation, I don't have any data to support this interpretation, but he definitely believes this strongly.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll just add to that. Zofa is he found some theories of other women and relations to cows in this weird UAP phenomenon, and he has some like ancient histories that kind of describes this stuff. It's really, really interesting. You should.
Well, he's one that has constantly surrounded himself by very well-known and high-level technical advisors, both government and academic. And Diana Walsh-Pasulka, and Zervos over at the University of North Carolina at Wilmington have both been advisors to Chris and his son Ryan. And they have done a lot of the interpretation or connection to previous stories, biblical or spiritual, in history, because both of them are religion professors. So they've been heavily involved in his life. And Ryan has particularly taken to this and almost got a degree in religion on his way to graduating from college. And so Bledsoe has his own podcast now. Yeah. Ryan Bledsoe Said So is the name of the thing.
Yeah. No, I've pushed his podcast. I like his show. I've been meaning to get him on. I just haven't had time to ask him. But no, he sounds like a fun dude. Rather, did you have another point?
Well, yeah, just kind of follow up to that. Do you think that this is a like a religious kind of phenomenon that's been with us throughout the ages, or
there is some data, etc., for this, and the thing I want to keep reminding people of is the church's interest in this has not been for the last 40 or 50 or 60 or 70 years. It's been around for a long time. I mean, the church now owns this painting of all these UFOs flooding the sky over Nuremberg in the 14 or 1500s. So they have lots of evidence, and they are not releasing a lot of the evidence that they hold in the Vatican vaults and the Vatican archives. But Diana Pasulka and Tim Taylor, who was really Tim Taylor, went together to the Vatican archives and saw a lot of stuff. So they have some idea of what the deal is. And the office of the Pope has reached out and had an interaction with Chris Bledsoe. I will not characterize it because I was not present when it happened, but he does have evidence that it actually occurred. So there's an interest by the religious in his experiences.
There was a comment here from Tixinator, says, wish we had some phone home stuff in Europe. And hi, Tina. Just real quick, if you don't live in the United States, you can still take part in the big phone home. You're allowed to tweet at our senators. There's nothing that says you're not allowed to tweet. And we have not only the day of the 3 days of the big phone home, we're going to be leading tweet storms against certain senators, congressmen, to see if we can convince them to come on the show day of. So don't be afraid to join us in that effort. If you want to tweet at a U.S. senator, the tools are there for you to do so. So don't be afraid to reach out if you live in a different country, or just steal our model and use it in Europe. Instead of senator, put prime minister. Change the wording in a little bit, and boom, mail them a letter. You can use this stuff. You just have to do a little bit more work on your end, because it is sort of tailored for the U.S. Political system. But if you feel free to take anything from our website, reword it however you want, share it however you want, go for it. But don't let borders slow you down from asking for this information. So I just wanted to say that real quick.
I guess kind of, taking on to that with, America seems to have almost a monopoly on the UAP issue. All the stories are from America. Have you seen reports or anything from your, tenure in the intelligence community to show that this is a worldwide phenomenon? It's not just happening in America or around American military bases?
You don't need to be in the intelligence community to know that your question is true, because Leslie Kane got interested in this subject because of the Cometa report, which came from France. And so the Europeans have had a healthy interest. Now, the Five Eyes countries, the English-speaking countries most closely allied with the United States, appear to me to have allowed interest in this to be dominated from Washington. So, and the recent public statements and public hearing by someone from the Secretary of Defense office in Britain was very negative on UAP work in front of in front of the Parliament, being interrogated by the opposition. So, so this is just and Canada. There is no one who's quieter on UAPs than Canada, even though they've had some really, really interesting stuff. And if you want to hear how interesting, go check out all of the coverage that Grant Cameron has given to Wilbert Smith, and all the kind of these really, really crazy stories that we all follow from that period. He was writing notes to the Prime Minister of Canada in 1950, before any of this stuff was public, telling him that this stuff was going on in the United States, but no one ever knew it. I mean, he got himself read in and told, and said that there was direct contact with entities. I mean, this stuff is so. Yes, there's been interest by others, and they're basically covering up. I want to make sure that before we run out of time, I cover one interesting thing.
Yeah, please.
And you've already alluded to it in the private chat, so I'm going to bring it up.
Yeah.
So there is a defense officer who worked for the United States Marine Corps, who says that she has retired, but she also says that she is in contact and is a contactee, and claims that tomorrow at the Lincoln Memorial, she is going to hold a press conference. There you have a press wire. And that she's going to take a team of scientists inside the Mojave Mountains in Arizona to meet them. So I don't know whether the team is already picked or whether it's open for new people to join, but I have volunteered.
Rather, you had mentioned this earlier. What you got a big smile on your face. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, it's amazing that Bob volunteered. I want Bob, if you go, please come back here, report your findings.
According to recent tweets, where she's kind of getting angry that people are, calling her names. It's the typical troll stuff that goes on Twitter. So she's gotten a little huffy, and she said, look, scientists are going to take instruments and cameras, etc., and be able to interact and record. And she claims that whoever goes is going to meet multiple races. And I'm just going, somebody's going to take me inside of an interesting place in the desert Southwest and let me go and go around underground and have some fun. Hey, I'll go. But especially if it's going to show me some aliens.
Yeah.
Well,
that's a hell of a promise right there, man.
Oh yeah. I want to go.
I've learned to never say, shut my mind off of any possibility in this UAP issue. But I got to admit, when I was reading that, I just read that story today. It seems very far-fetched, right? Like even
it does. No, I'm not naive. I think this is probably almost surely completely and utterly full of crap. But I have an open mind, as is clear. And I thought, I
And
believe,
you got the time.
I'm with
I
you.
believe the UAPs are real. I have the time. I can take some toys. I can do some recordings, and let's see what happens.
God, man, I would need 100 million more of you, Bob. What do we got to do? Okay, so I guess how often, you're sort of partly retired, right? You're adjunct. How often do you do either peer reviews, or how often do you go into a room and have a meeting with fellow like I'm picturing like like a
I go to
monthly club
conferences.
where all my
I go to
scientist buddies
conferences.
are. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
when you get into the private conversations, and I'm sure this topic comes up, what are your peers saying? Like, are they looking at you like you got two heads? Or
Some do, some yes, some no. Some yes, and some no. It's a split.
Yeah, but has it become, well, let me ask you, I mean, how you've probably been doing this for a while. Have those looks started to become a little more interested looks as opposed to
okay? So I'll give you the perfect example.
Yeah.
A guy I worked with for 15 years. We worked together at Virginia Tech, and I retired and he retired.
Mm-hmm.
And he literally, because I went, look, I think there's something to this UAP stuff because it's all over government. And I went in so far as I put $200 into TTSA. I bought stock.
Right.
Okay. So, and he thought I was crazy. Okay. So he literally texted me on Signal and said, throughout my career, I'm older than he is. He says, you seem to always be years ahead of other people. And he said, when you first started talking about this, I thought you were nuts. He says, but what I know now, it's science fiction. He says, I can't even believe it. And you were right. And that was it. I mean, he had gone from thinking I had lost my mind to realizing that I knew something was going on.
Yeah. Let me ask you, you said you invested in TTSA. Are you happy with your investment still? Or do you feel
I'm never
going
to, I've wasted $200 on other things.
Yeah.
So, okay. So,
well, it's not like you put your life savings into it.
The company isn't dead yet. So if one day one of his movie hits, maybe I'll get 2 cents on the dollar.
There you go. This is a great question. If Bob was given $1 million to invest in UAP science, you know what? I'm not going to say $1 million. I'm going to up that and say $1 billion. $1 billion to invest in UAP science and sensor systems. How would he spend it?
Okay, so I would put out multi-sensor collection systems at every active hotspot I could find. Okay, so but it would be independent of all the people who are making a living on these hotspots. So I'm going to tell you, just let me tell you, one in particular. Melinda Leslie has invited me to come to Sedona, Arizona and observe with her while she shows all of her tours, which she makes money on, doing these CE5 things where things show up every night. And so she always gives a money back guarantee. And her claim is that since she was well over 1,000 of these tours, she's given 3 tours their money back. So of thousands of tours, there have been 3 times when something didn't show up. So we've arranged for an independent location on a top of a private building where it's fenced in, but what she sees can be seen from there for something like SkyHub to go. And so I would love, and so what I'm trying to do is gather evidence that is freely available, open to everyone, has no government involvement, and that's how I would do it. So I love Avi Loeb getting involved in this, but I don't think his project is on the right track. So
what would you do differently?
Well, have it on the earth and looking at in the atmosphere. I promise you, I know what he's going to do. He's going to build these big telescopes and look for other things like Oumuamua coming into the solar system from outside the solar system, because that's his interest.
To be fair, though, I think that's one of 4 of the main points. I think that he is planning on looking, at least he says he is planning on looking at the atmosphere.
Except he hasn't talked to a single one that, so far as I know, he hasn't talked to a single one of the projects that have gone before him, like SkyHub and UFO DAP.
Well, you are part of SkyHub. We've got like 4 minutes left. Do you want to tell us about how you got involved and why you think SkyHub is what did you say is your favorite sort of instrument to use?
I would. So I would. And great people got involved early. We had 4 or 5 people got together and decided they wanted to do this. We had a great technical leader who built out the initial software system for it, and it has cameras. My part is to do radios and radars and so forth. And the issue is it's open source. Everyone can go look at the code. The license is completely free. You can steal it if you want to and go do your own thing. There's a do-it-yourself list of equipment. All of it you can buy on Amazon, except for maybe a handful of pieces. And there you can go buy them at Grove Seed and other places. You can easily buy all the stuff for yourself. And then there's detailed instructions. So the website is skyhub.org. The instructions, the instructions are docs.skyhub.org. And there's a step-by-step plan for building the software and building the hardware and doing it yourself. So it's open source, open data, open specification, no secrets. And the whole thing was do it all out in the open. And so UFO DAP, it is my opinion that UFO DAP is ahead of where SkyHub is now, but they are closed. They want to make money to recover their investment. Right. And SkyHub is not about making money.
Yeah.
Even to cover the investment, because people are investing their own money.
Okay, well, I want to leave you on this, Bob, because I'm curious about your thoughts on this. So we've been told, it's been said over and over and over and over in this community, sort of the red flag you should look for anytime you're in this community is when people tell you they know 100% definitively what's going on.
I don't believe anybody really does.
Yeah. Okay. So you believe that as well. So if you're listening, would you say that's good advice? If you're listening to someone who says they know what's going on, you should probably change the channel, or
you would know what you should want is evidence. Right. You want evidence. And if they don't have observational evidence to back up their story, don't believe it. Don't take it. Don't get all emotional if somebody attacks them, because I'm all about doing what's called observational science. That means I'm going to gather data that you can trust. I'm not going to interpret it. That's up to you. You can interpret it any way you want to, because I'm not going to tell you a story. That's the thing that appeals to me about SkyHub. It's observational science that you get to interpret.
Right on.
Or I'd say, tell them to take you to the Mojave Desert and introduce you to the aliens, right?
Happy to do that. I got a few cameras. So I asked her a few questions, and it became clear that there's going to be no conveyance, and we're going to have to hike into the mountains. So that limits how much you can take through the through the Sonoran Desert. Okay, so you're just going to have to go with a handful of stuff and a lot of water.
Right on. All right, well, Mr. Bob McGwier, we've reached our hour. Flew by. Absolutely flew by. I know you gotta hunker down because you got a little bit of a storm coming your way.
Yeah, but 40-50 mile an hour winds tonight and a lot of rain. So I need to prepare.
Yes, sir. All right, you get out of here, Mr. Bob McGwier. Thank you so much for stopping by. It was a lot of fun, and I can't wait to have you back on again.
Looking forward to it. You take care.
All right, sir. Yes, sir. You too.
See you, Bob.
Bob McGwier.
Woo. That was a fun conversation. Yeah, he knows a lot.
Dude, that was great. That was a lot of fun. Hey, what's up, Jimmy Corbell? What's up? What do you say?
Wow, yeah.
Hey, you're missing out if you don't know who Bob McGwier is. Popping in for a bit. Love the show. Dude, please tell me you're coming to the Big Phone Home too. I've reached out to you. I know you're a busy guy. I'm not calling you out. I'm just saying we'd love to have you. So yeah, he's right. Bob's great, dude. Bob was Bob, well, I love talking to Bob.
I mean, really hope Angeline picks him to go out to the Mojave Desert.
I picture Bob like if I stayed a night at Bob's house. I think when I wake up, he's already in that little shed, tinkering on stuff, having fun, just doing his thing. And I would just sit there and watch him, like I did with my grandpa, because my grandpa would do the exact same thing, but he didn't have the engineering degrees and the mathematical degrees that Bob's got. He just had war stories, which was still a lot of fun. But I don't know, just something about that guy. I just
strikes me as someone who's never bored, and
I just want to hug and squeeze and
just
squeeze his cheeks. Well, Jeremy, dude, thanks for stopping by. We appreciate it, dude. I can't wait to see what you got coming up next. It's going to be, I'm sure, fun. And everybody here is so stoked you're here. Welcome, Jeremy. What's up, dude? Okay. All right. So let's reset the room. If you guys don't know, we had Science Bob McGwier in the house. He just went over a lot of stuff. We just had a really great conversation. So if you missed it, go back and check it out. Michael Mataluni is off today. He's not feeling very well. We do have a poll that has to do with him. So let's go ahead and bring in Artemis Prime. As soon as I see her on camera, we'll bring her in to read the polls. What are we missing? Oh, yeah. Here, let me do this. Let me play this for you guys while Artemis gets ready. I'm going to tell you all right now, all of these wonderful people would not be here without Patreon supporters like you. If you enjoy credible news, reviews, and commentary on UFOs and UAPs 5 days a week, you want to support this show. What's your name? Marty, look how easy this is, Marty. Pick up your phone. Boom, you're a Patreon member. I mean, look, it's so easy. You just click the link, which is right here. Just for $1 a month, you can support this show. Just fill out the information and pledge what's comfortable for you. It could be $1, $5, $10, or who knows. Just support.
Right. I love that deep fake 70s Lou. I can't
Thank
get
you,
enough.
man. I love it too. Michael's working on his, so it should be. I can't wait till he gets his in there. Warlock says, greetings, Luis and Rather. What's up, Warlock? Tina Temazuski says her internet sucks. I'm sorry, my lady. Yeah, hey, Alex, if you want to send Jeremy our link, he's more than happy to make some room for Jeremy Corbell if he wants to pop in.
Anytime.
Let's see here. Okay, so we're still waiting on Artemis. Where's Artemis? Let me hit her up on the WhatsApp, because maybe she wants to hang out here for the last hour with us while we talk about stuff. So, Rather, do you have the show sheet there?
I'm not, but I can pull it up here.
Yeah, pull it up. What are we supposed to talk about next while I hit up Artemis here?
Oh yeah, I think we had the Tucker Carlson UFO
that's
show.
What I wanted
that's
to
one
talk
of the things.
about. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So there was. Let me bring up the article because, or the thing I'm talking about, because Tucker Carlson is putting out a basically it kind of hit me almost like a what's that chef that just passed away, an Anthony Bourdain kind of show where he travels America or different parts of the world and they follow the real Tucker Carlson outside of the studio, and we get a different Tucker, which is interesting. Okay, but I wanted to talk about this because there was a lot of stuff. There's Artemis. Artemis is here. All right, let's bring in Artemis before we get into this conversation. Hey, Artie, what's going on?
I did hear you, so I'm down for the last hour.
Okay, great. Okay, so Artemis, do me a favor, give us the poll and then give us from lowest to highest what the poll results were.
All right. So what happened to Mike? Lowest at 7% said he's playing hooky.
Yeah.
15% said he's sick, like he says. 24% said he's fighting evil Mike, and 54% says he's probably taking mushrooms.
Michael,
I agree with that. I think he is.
What's up, Max Maxovich?
Yeah. He's taking mushrooms. He should be on here, StreamYard, so we could all look at his dilated pupils.
Exactly. Okay,
get his opinion on all this.
Here's what I wanted to show you guys, and I don't know if I could play this. I got to share the screen first. Here we go. So this is foxnews.com. And this is going to be the first episode in his new show, okay, called Tucker Carlson Originals, okay? And so Tucker to reveal most compelling UFO evidence from Pentagon report in new Fox Nation episode. Now, I want to play this, but you know what? Let's play it. I got to get it on a different hold on a second, guys. I got to get it so you guys can hear the sound with us. But here's the thing. Our friend of the show, John Greenwald, is in this, and he got a lot of flack for being on this show, because Tucker Carlson is, politically speaking, a very polarizing person. You either like him or you don't. And it's very difficult for folks in the UFO community because I can understand why people don't like him. I totally 100% get it. But this is what bipartisanship looks like. Coming to the table with somebody that you really don't like and trying to have an open and honest dialogue with them about something and see where your common ground is. But nobody wants to hear that about Tucker. Like, nobody is interested in finding common ground with Tucker Carlson. And I can understand that to a point. Right. So this is what I mean. John Greenwald caught so much shit for this, and I don't know why. I really don't. Like, if anybody, and I've said this before, if anybody in the UFO community that doesn't deserve to catch shit for the stuff they do, it's John Greenwald, because without Greenwald, we are not here. Like, we're just not. Without Greenwald, we don't have over 4 million FOIA requests and documents sitting in front of us for all to peruse at our pleasure. Like, I don't understand. If you're asked to come talk about something that you love to do, that you're really good at, and somebody's going to give you the platform to do it in a way that might convince some people, why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't you do it? And here's another thing. Let's say this Tucker Carlson hit or spot gets 20, 30 million views in the first night, and it's a huge hit. You don't think that's going to inspire ABC, CBS, NBC, MSNBC, any one of these million other news conglomerates? So, whoa, did you guys see what Tucker pulled on Wednesday night about UFOs? Look at his numbers. I'm telling you. Yeah. This is not going to be the last one. And I know it's a nasty sort of, it's medicine that you have to take with a spoonful of sugar. Like, nobody likes taking this medicine, but honestly, this doesn't bother me. And I don't think it should bother you, and you shouldn't get so emotional about it. What do you got, Rather? I know you want to say something.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing I hate about politics is that it seems like, on both sides, people are very entrenched in their position, and they can hear more and more evidence, and it really won't make a difference. People are kind of made up in their minds about what political, route they're going. The UAP issue is very different from that, because people, are taking in evidence and like making up their mind and actually having conversations, which I think if we could get more of that attitude that, into real politics, that would be a good thing. And then, besides that, this isn't about reaching Tucker Carlson. This is about, reaching the audience. And maybe you hate Tucker, but, he has a wide audience. And I think that it is good to get this message out.
He's got one of the biggest audiences on television at this time. And I get it. I totally get it. Artie, what do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I think that any exposure is going to be good exposure in the long run, especially with his following. And I don't know, he's controversial, but everybody is in their own way. So
well, here's the beautiful thing about this topic, the UAP topic, is that nobody's yelling, well, the Democrats say that there is no alien bodies at Roswell. Well, the Republicans think there are. Like, you can't do that with this.
I don't think it's political. Like, I think it's a global topic. It's more than the US. Topic. It's more than Canada. It's more than any country. It's on a global scale. So I think I'm glad that politics are usually left out of it. And I think even for the most part, well, not really the most part, but for some people, it has been actually, even if they're religious, they're still actually looking into this and keeping an open mind, which is like, to me, I think that's really huge. And I think that these are all really good steps towards whatever we think disclosure is going to be. Like, I think all this exposure is just great.
A lot of conservative normies watch Tucker. And some of them are racist. Agreed. But this is not a segment that's catering to those people. You know what I mean? Like, this has got nothing to do with anything. Like, you're not going to hear about Afghanistan. You're not going to hear about, Black Lives Matter. You're not going to hear about gun rights. You're not going to hear about the border when it comes to this topic. This is a topic that you can't divide like that. Like, it's very difficult, unless, of course, they went to the political aspect of, well, if you don't support this bill, you don't believe in national security because these things are flying above restricted airspace. That's how I could see it could get a little politicized, but I don't see it going to extremes like it does with, say, COVID. You know, like we're not going to get a polarization on the UAP topic like we do with COVID. No. It's just not going to happen.
It's too big of a topic. I mean,
you're right.
It's not like a fad, you know, it's something so real and something that's been around for decades, centuries. Like I could be, you know.
Well, yeah, and not only does it not divide the country, but it's a uniting issue. You know, it brings us all together. It realizes how small we are, and you know how.
Yeah, it definitely brings us together.
Well, that's the whole point of the phone home, right? Is to put aside all of our bipartisan bullshit, all of our personal beliefs and feelings, and come to a table where we can all agree on one thing. And that one thing is that the government has more information. So let's ask them for it. Instead of pointing at each other, let's start pointing up. We all have to start pointing up. Like that's what drives me crazy about the community, man. Let's stop yelling at each other and start yelling at the people that deserve to get yelled at, because we're not going to solve it yelling at each other. So you could bash John Greenwald to your blue in the face. It's not going to change anything. I'd rather you bash a congressman or a senator to your blue in the face on this topic, because you actually might get something. But let's watch this. Let's see what, I mean, look, some people, Tucker's a poo-poo head, and that's true. Maybe he is a poo-poo head. You know, like I get it. But he's the only one talking about this and devoting now. You know, we've been asking this for 70 years now. And now we've got, you know, not only quick news hits, but now we've got an entire show devoted to the topic and taking it seriously. And don't be like, I think here's what's going to piss people off. They're going to like it. And they don't want to like it, because I have a feeling this is going to be a pretty decent report on UAPs. Are we going to learn anything new? I don't think so. But I think the way they present it is going to be in a very serious way. But let's take a look at the promo. Let's see what we think. Hopefully Fox News doesn't hit me for a copyright. But we will include the link for this in the description below. But let's check it out. Let's see what goes down.
It is under attack. We always find a way to persevere. We as conservatives
have
ultimate faith in people.
Hold on a second. This is just the stupid
promo. The alien show with a shooting a rifle.
This is just the promo that nobody wants to see. Where's the UFO promo? Gosh, it was in here. I thought I had it. Maybe not. Oh, I gotta put my email in. I gotta put my email in to see this. No. All right, this is what I do for you folks. This is what I do for you. I just gave my email to Fox News. You're welcome, audience. Now I'm gonna be on a mailing list. All right. Hopefully this is the right promo for it. Got to give it a second to load.
Hi, on my crew. Always.
Of course, we got the commercial.
A little talking car.
Yeah, a little talking car. All right, so we'll wait for that to pop off. But I mean, what do you? I mean,
first of all, thank you, Preston Paget, for the $5 donation here.
Oh,
really appreciate that.
Thank you guys and gals squidding to 2022. Okay, squidding for president. I like it. I'd vote for you, Squid. What would you run as? The independent or a Squid?
Yeah, I mean, if I ran, I'd run on a purely alien disclosure platform.
There you go.
Single issue.
There you go.
They're weather balloons.
All right, so here we go.
Strangely shaped clouds, but they were lying. For decades, we now know, based on troves of documentary evidence, the U.S. government has worried a lot about UFOs. Strange, unimaginably fast aircraft of unknown origin, violating military airspace and moving in ways that defy known physics. What are these things? How much should they worry us? Those questions are worth asking, so we did.
Physics is based on things that are testable, reproducible, and falsifiable. For the first time, we have videotapes now by which we can measure the characteristics of these objects. So this is now real science.
This is not just science fiction. This is not just conspiracy theory.
These things are real.
They're violating our airspace.
It's a good lineup.
The evidence 100% contradicts what the U.S. government and the military wants us to believe about the UFO phenomena.
This might be a subject that more journalists should take more seriously.
I couldn't identify it. It was flying and it was an object. That's all I can really bring back.
This footage from a DHS patrol plane shows a 5-foot-long object moving at more than 100 miles an hour off the coast of Puerto Rico.
Look at this thing. It's traveling much faster than it should. How many aircraft do we know can dive into the ocean? But these craft effortlessly go back and forth between the water and the air. Our missiles cannot do that. The stresses would be enough to rip the metal apart.
The U.S. government has collected many videos like this. Dr. Kaku sat down to watch them with the eyes of a trained physicist. He had no explanation for what he saw. After years of official denials, in early 2021, the federal government declassified video of some of the Navy's closest encounters.
We're just seeing a fraction of what the military has in its archives, and it's enough to make your jaw hit the floor.
The Navy pilot shot this video off the coast of Florida in 2015.
Dude, this is a fucking drone, bro.
You can actually calculate how fast it's moving, the altitude, because we have the cameras, the equipment.
Bro, going against the wind. The wind's 120 miles to the west. Look at that thing, dude.
And this object does things that no known aircraft can duplicate. These objects that we see on videotapes can do what we think no Chinese, no Russian, or no US hypersonic drone can execute. They break the sound barrier with no sonic boom. They can hit the oceans and not break apart.
One of the most vexing mysteries about UFOs is why the federal government has lied about their existence for so long.
Just remember that our pilots have said that perhaps every day when they're on patrol, they encounter these things, but of course, many times they never report them.
Okay, so, I mean, look, dude. I mean, you had Michio Kaku.
I love him. So
How
good.
Could you not
Yeah.
love
Oh,
Michio
he's
Kaku?
so good. Yeah, he's so good. Like I'm pumped. Not gonna lie.
You're muted, rather.
Yeah, I do not love what he just said there in that trailer. I was
What did you not like?
well, so he said that his jaw hit the floor from watching those Navy videos.
Yeah.
There isn't anything that we don't see supersonic flight. We don't see anything that planes can't do in those videos. I don't think they are planes, but it just kind of shocks me to see Michio Kaku say that these videos are de facto extraordinary. I think that they're extraordinary paired with the other testimony around it, but just that snippet of Michio Kaku, it seems like he was just kind of playing it up for the television cameras.
Well, I think Michio Kaku over the years has sort of made this clear. There's a totality to it, though, that he's talking about here. Like for the first time, our Pentagon is saying these things are real, and they've released video. Now, the video, of course, as we've now had 4 years to play Monday, morning quarterback on these videos, we can all go, well, these just aren't compelling enough. But they are for Michio Kaku. They are from Michio Kaku,
which it shocks me, really. I don't know I don't know how to internalize that.
I don't know if it should look. Michio Kaku isn't saying aliens are real. He's just saying these are measurables. Now we have measurables. So what other measurables can we go out and find? And I think that's hopefully where the conversation goes is how do we get more guys like Kaku to go, okay, I'll look at this. Let me ask you this. Do you think Neil deGrasse Tyson has sat down and looked at all these videos in a really critical eye?
I think that he's probably done the same as Michio Kaku, and Neil deGrasse Tyson has the opposite reaction. He says, I don't want to look anymore at this. I don't think that there's anything crazy there. And Michio Kaku has the opposite reaction.
Would you rather have toward these videos?
I'd rather have the mindset of, this is very interesting. We need to know more, and we need to,
in the middle.
Well,
and that might be what Michio. This was the first time me seeing that little clip, and I will withhold my judgment on Michio Kaku and the television program until I see the full thing. But it does upset. I get a little nervous when I hear people building up the videos as something that you can take
like a trailer
de
or
facto as
something.
proof. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we've had the SCU break down the Aguadilla footage that he's referring to. And you had Rich Hoffman look at that video at every aspect of it. And they've come back to with the conclusion that these aren't Chinese lanterns. And you keep going, but I mean, let me ask you this rather. Did you see the conversation? Because I tagged you in it. The conversation that Lito put out there post Mick West's rebuttal to their debate, where he had the conversation. Okay, what did you think about that?
Yeah, well, ultimately, I guess I feel like these debates over the minutia of these videos doesn't really accomplish much. You know, I think that these are UAPs. I think that there is some. I don't even know if there's a debate that. Well, I guess my position is I don't think that there's anything that is truly earth-shattering, physics-defying that we see in these videos. It seems like some other people have other opinions, which is fine, but I don't think they're so nebulous. I don't think that we're ever going to get to a, hey, yeah, we looked at this video. This is proof that these things are doing these crazy things. I don't think that we have that. I don't think that any amount of analysis, any amount of back and forth is going to get us there.
No, but you know what these videos have done in the last 4 years has got mainstream science to pay attention.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And that's what we want. I think that's sort of the purpose of them, right?
Yeah, and well, they're incredible videos because of who they're coming from and the background that we're getting from the people who have released them. So yeah, I mean, I think these are incredible videos. They're what got me hooked on the topic. But we can't tell the public, hey, we have evidence of UAPs. Here it is.
Right.
That's just not where we're at.
But I don't think we heard Michu say that though either.
Sure, that's good.
Okay. Well, Alex Garcia, our producer, said Rather is a West logo anyway. And then he said in our private chat, stop the press. Rather believes Mick West knows more than Michio Kaku. Well, here's the thing, man. And the reason why I sent you that video is because we're starting to get to a point now where all of the professionals in the room, directly or indirectly involved with this footage, okay, that know what they're looking at, that have worked on the equipment, that are certified to do so, and all of them disagree with Mick. All of them. At what point do we go, okay, we got to stop listening to the video game program?
Well, yeah. I don't think that that's necessarily true. Are you talking about Chris Lato's latest video?
I'm talking about Chris Lato. I'm talking about the technician that worked on the gimbal camera systems. I'm talking about David Fravor. I'm talking about Chad Underwood. I'm now talking about Michio Kaku. Like, I'm talking about the Pentagon, the Navy, all of these people, all of these professionals that have, again, either direct or indirect knowledge of these systems, these capabilities, these equipment that are much closer to this issue than Mick West are telling you, the professionals are telling you, this is abnormal. This is not something we've seen. This is something you should pay attention to.
Well, I think the more like that these professionals are talking, the more that they're going to round up the scientists in the field as well. Like just like Bill Nelson wants to with NASA, hopefully it ramps up across the world where scientists are starting to look into this, or astrophysicists and people like maybe like Neil deGrasse Tyson that are more skeptical but are still in that field. Maybe their eyes will start opening up to all this evidence that maybe we don't think is spectacular, but is more physical evidence, and in their minds is more like factual that they can actually go off of versus, other sightings and things like that.
Well, yeah, and I mean, it's clear these are anomalous videos, right? Like, I don't think that Mick West or anyone would say that, this is just a normal jet flying that any Navy pilot would be able to identify. These are clearly things that are anomalous. So now we're getting into the minutia of what exactly are we seeing? Is this object rotating a little bit or is it not? And kind of in my opinion, that doesn't really matter. We know that these are UAPs that the Navy has investigated and can't tell what they are. It doesn't really matter if it rotates or not. But if we want to get into that, we're talking about a completely anomalous thing out there that could be ET UFO. So it makes sense to me that, these experts, these FLIR people, when they're talking about how the things normally react to, flare and jet engines and stuff like that, it's probably not going to react like that, So when they say that no, a jet engine wouldn't show the rotating wouldn't work with a jet engine because of all these different things, my response to that is it probably isn't a jet engine. It might be something completely different that you've never seen. Maybe a different type of glare, maybe other things going on. Well, the rotation.
Here's the thing that tells me it was rotating, and pixels that Mick is pointing to are a moot point. The pilot said it was rotating. The pilot who was there.
Well, sure, but he's looking at the. So again, this is clearly an anomalous event, right? So this clearly, whatever's happening doesn't. First time the pilot's seeing it, first time all these people are seeing it, he's looking at his radar. He's looking at what we're seeing. He doesn't have a visual, sight on it. Right. So probably normally things like this don't happen, right? So he's looking at it. This is the first time he's ever seen this weird glare thing, because normally the mechanics and the internals account for jets and the things that they always see.
Right. And
so he's
not
saying
only that, but all of their radar systems are telling him there's no commercial flights in the neighborhood. There's no drones in the neighborhood. Like there's nothing else being picked up on radar.
Yeah. And so I agree with that. I think that it's probably some weird anomalous event. I think it's probably just an orb that's maybe going up and down and hovering like the radar data suggests. To me, it doesn't make a difference if it turns or not.
But the point is, neither one of us know. Nobody knows, right? But the footage is getting Michio Kaku interested. It's perking his ears, right? And he's doing a special with Tucker Carlson. And here, honestly, my point was not to get into the minutia of whether or not these videos are legit or not. The point is, if Michio Kaku is okay with going on Tucker Carlson, if Chad Underwood is okay with going on Tucker Carlson, then stop giving shit to John Greenwald Jr. for going on Tucker Carlson. Every other person in the UAP community goes on this man's show because he's the only one, for whatever the reasons are, who's covering it with any real moxie. He is. I don't like Tucker Carlson, but he is. Okay, we got to take our personal shit, put it to the side, and just appreciate what's going on right here. This is Michio Kaku. Okay, this is probably one of the smartest minds on the planet. And he is finally talking on it. I emailed him as soon as I saw this. I was like, I'd love to get Kaku for the big phone home, because he's going to provide an important scientific mindset, a really curious scientific mindset, not this standardized science that never wants to change its mind about anything and has zero open mind like Neil deGrasse. I'm sorry, man, but publicly, you look like a fool when you're being this closed-minded, and you make Michio Kaku. I just love him even more now. Like, he's my favorite scientist on the planet, and he just went to God level for me. Like he's actually coming at this with a completely open mind, and that's all we need. That's all we want. And all I'm saying is stop giving Greenwald shit. He doesn't deserve it. The guy's done so much damn good work for this community. Honestly, if you're going to give Greenwald shit, go give Elizondo shit, go give Cahill shit, go give Chad Underwood shit, go give all of these people. I think even Alex Dietrich went on Tucker.
Yeah, instead of giving them shit, let's give them our undivided admiration, because they're spreading the word. They're great representatives of the UFO community. They're, I have my hats off
to take the wins,
Yeah, we got to take the wins where we got them, man. And that's all I wanted to point out, because I felt like John got attacked and I didn't like it. I didn't like it one bit.
Yeah, it's not fair. We're getting really evil on Twitter, especially.
Here's the problem. It's summer. It's hot. People are agitated that they haven't gotten any new information in the last, almost 2 months. We're eating our own tail. And so we see John Greenwald on Tucker. We're like, ah! You see John Greenwald on Showtime and you freak out. John Greenwald doesn't edit, produce, direct any of these things. He's just asked to be there, and he gives his expertise. Yeah. And it's damn valuable. And that's what he's being asked.
If you didn't like those documentaries, if you thought there was, something that you didn't like, they'd be a lot worse without John Greenwald.
Yeah, a lot worse without John Greenwald. Phillips Shane says, Kaku has always said anything, which is great. He supports more research always, which is great, but he's not very discriminating at all. He likes to get on TV, really great motives, but ... Does he continue?
I agree with Philip a little bit here, but
a little bit. I agree with Philip a little bit too. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I'm sure Michio Kaku loves a camera just like anybody. But Michio Kaku's not selling a book right now. You know, Michio Kaku's not like, he doesn't have to do this.
And you know, I'll take kind of a little bit of what I said back, because he does get, you know, Michio Kaku talking about this, regardless of whether he's, you know, hitting every point that I want him to hit. He's getting people excited about it, and he really is, you know, getting the kids, the adults, everyone, you know, on this topic, which is great.
Yeah, maybe just like scientific researchers that don't even think about UFOs. There's so many people who don't, who need this information out there. It needs to go on TMZ. It needs to go through celebrities. It needs to be on Carlson. It needs to be everywhere. You know, it needs to hit all these age demographics. I don't think we should be so picky as to how it's going out. Just the fact that it is, and that it's becoming part of these daily conversations between so many different people, and it's only growing from here. I think that you're kind of right. People may be just a bit antsy and agitated, like maybe just annoyed that nothing new is coming out, but everybody needs to spread more kindness and remember what we're focusing on, and like, we're talking about UFOs here, like,
right.
I don't know, I think we should leave everything else, you know, at the door and focus on the big picture.
The bottom line is we're winning on the topic, you know. And so, you know, I for whatever reason, I could compartmentalize everything else that Tucker said. Like, if I was going to go on Tucker, never happened. But let's say if I did, the first words out of my mouth would be, thank you, Tucker, for inviting me on the show. I know I don't always see eye to eye with you, but I'm glad we could come together on common ground for this UAP topic, you know. And that's how, if people really didn't like Tucker, you know, especially for these live spots, that's how they should open the conversation. Is, look, I philosophically disagree with 98% of the things you say, but here on this 2%, I'll come to the table with you. I'll have the conversation with you, because again, like I've told you guys this 100 times, Marco Rubio, Hillary Clinton, two polar opposites of the political spectrum, are both into the UAP topic. And if you put them in a room and you force them to talk about nothing but UFOs for 2 hours, and then you gave them the next 2 hours to talk about whatever you want, you're going to come out of that room with more in common than you went going in. And that's what's awesome about this topic. So I would just say, don't get lost in the minutia, and don't, you know, try to keep your emotions out of this, because it's going to be very difficult for you. Just try to create, you know, less headaches for yourself.
It's just common respect amongst each other. Everybody's different. Everybody's going to have different opinions and views. But I think even if you don't like somebody, just like how you said how you would start, that's just being respectful.
Right.
That's putting crap aside and saying, let's just talk about what's important, what we agree on, and what is going to help for the greater cause, the greater good. You know, right. I think we're getting caught up in not respecting each other anymore, and that's not okay. We're human, but it's a
dangerous place. That's for sure.
It is.
It's a dangerous.
It is, and no one's perfect, of course. It's just like, I think a lot of people are forgetting, maybe because we're so used to being behind our screens in the last few years because of what's been going on in the world, that maybe people are like losing sight of, you know, common respect towards each other, and maybe just losing patience. But I don't think that that's right. Yeah. We all want the same thing, people. We all want the same thing. You know, we're just different.
Well, no, I think that's I agree totally. You know, politics this could be the issue that, you know, gets people together, gets people talking.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking exactly. It will be. You know, I hope I'm right. But that's, again, this is the whole point of the big phone home is to come together on the common ground, the stuff that we agree on.
Yeah.
Or at least see eye to eye on, and then see where else we can line up. So hold on a second real quick because I'm highlighting our next story here. Let's do a quick reset just in case you guys don't know. We have
I just mentioned him.
You did? Bill Nelson?
So funny. Yeah.
Okay, so we have this was before we get into Bill Nelson, I just want to quickly reset the room. We got Artemis Prime, who's our intern. She's helping us out to fill in for Mike today. So thank you, Artemis, for being here. We've got Rather Be Squidding, who has the YouTube channel Rather Be Squidding. Go check out his show. He just dropped the video last week on molten metal aliens, right?
Yeah. In the outer core.
In the outer core. And we're going to be talking about something kind of fun after this Bill Nelson story. So let's get into it. So our boy John Greenwald, Black Vault, right? He dropped this article today. NASA Administrator Bill Nelson scheduled to receive UAP briefing August 17th, which is tomorrow, right? Tomorrow. So this was a really cool article, and it said NASA's Administrator Bill Nelson is scheduled to obtain a briefing on unidentified aerial phenomena tomorrow. This news, which comes from two documented released through the Freedom of Information Act and obtained through the Black Vault, was revealed within two Office of Internal and Interagency Relations. Weekly update emails sent July 18th and July 25th of this year. Both updates outline an upcoming activities for Administrator Bill Nelson and other NASA personnel. And both list a briefing to administrator on task force report on unidentified aerial phenomena set for August 17th. What do you think about that? That's some pretty exciting news.
I love this guy.
Yeah, I'm shocked that they got this news through FOIA requests. Typically, I think of those as taking months or years to get data back, and we're getting this preemptively telling us this. That's amazing.
Sometimes John gets things back pretty quickly. Sometimes,
yeah, I feel like he knows all the ways to do it.
It's like all the keywords and like who to contact.
Well,
he's mentioned that before.
That's why we had him write a template. Because he knows how to do this stuff. So that's why we have a John Greenwald email template on our website, thebigphonehome.com. So if you want to send a letter to Congress, if you want to email Congress, use Greenwald's letter. It's probably going to be pretty effective. But what are you gonna say? What do you got?
What I really want to know is who initiated this meeting and which way the information is flowing. Is it NASA getting information from the UAP task force, or is UAP task force asking NASA about what they've been observing?
Well, if I had to guess, this is a good question, man, because that's a great question, dude. What would you guess, rather? What would you say? How would you say the information is flowing if you had to speculate?
I want to think that it's Bill Nelson who's instigating this, because we haven't heard about this from any other organization. And Bill Nelson's the one, department head that's been very vocal about wanting to be a part of this and, having his scientists study the issue. So I really hope that it's Bill Nelson saying, hey, UAP task force, I have some information that you might be interested in.
Yeah. What about you, Artie? Which way do you want the information to be flowing?
I mean, I think he gets kind of giddy when he talks about this, like Bill Nelson. So it really makes me kind of giddy as well. So like anytime I see any news with him in it, I'm like, oh God, what is it now? Like I get excited. So honestly, like just seeing his name coming up, I'm like, oh yeah, what's coming? Like I think he's gonna be interesting. I don't know. Hey, that's my feeling with him. I think, yeah. Sorry.
No, he's definitely going to be interesting. That's for sure. His facial expressions alone will be worth the tuning in for. But we got Philip Shane in the house, who, by the way, Philip Shane is the host of the What If podcast. We're going to be going on this Thursday. Me and Rather got to wake up at 6 a.m. We're not wake up. We got to be ready to go by 6 a.m. Rather. So we probably got to wake up a little earlier.
That's why it's not 6 a.m. Eastern time.
Yeah, exactly. Thank God it's not 6 a.m. Eastern time, because I don't think I would have done it. But so me, Michael, and Rather will be going on that podcast. So stay tuned for that. He's got a really great presence in the community, and yeah, we're gonna go on the show, share some ideas, and talk UAPs. So that'll be a lot of fun. So thank you for being here, Philip. We truly appreciate it. Can't wait to be on the show. Okay, so I think I'm kind of with you, rather. I think that the information is flowing from the top down to NASA. They're giving him the talking points. Like, here's what you guys are going to talk about. Here's the information. Because, like, remember we were talking about this, like, how NASA could be in the coming year or two. NASA could be a really great buffer between this topic and the government, because there's scientists in there. There's people who, yes, they work for the government because they're part of NASA, but they're not in any special access programs. They're, you know what I mean?
It's civilian based. Yeah.
It's civilian based. So that's what's kind of cool. And boy, man, what do you think about this, rather, in Artemis? Could NASA steal SpaceX's thunder?
Oh,
Could they secure some big time funding, depending on the information that they get through NASA? Like, could they revive the space program with UAP?
That's an interesting idea. My kind of gut is saying probably no. I think that NASA's kind of given up on that, and that's kind of,
you would think.
But you know, I think NASA plays a big role in, you know, like the James Webb Telescope is launching, and they have these other, you know, tools for observation, which seems to be kind of NASA's, you know, big domain right now. And I think that hopefully will just, you know, things like this will increase the funding and increase the public's, you know, response and, you know, approval rating of NASA and what they do.
Right. Well, this is I just had to pick out this comic because the name is insane. Delta Uniform Tango Charlie Hotel Echo Sierra Sierra. No, Lou, that ain't happening.
That sounds like
it sounds official.
when they're helicopter talk or something.
Exactly. It sounds like I'm getting that radioed in from someone important. So I mean, okay.
Duchess, I believe.
I'll take that. What do you think? Do you think, Arnie, that the NASA is trying to revive the space program through UAP?
I don't know that they'll get any bigger than SpaceX, but I think it'll be interesting to see what what they come out with. And if we really think that they've been hiding things in the past that they've seen, like, you know, when they used to go live in space and now they don't, things like that. I don't know, maybe they'll start revealing more things, or they'll be more, like, they'll be compelled to. So it'll be interesting what comes out. And yeah, as people are getting more comfortable and higher officials are getting more comfortable to speak on the topic publicly, yeah, it'll be interesting what NASA comes out with, I think.
Well,
what do you think, Lou?
Man, what was my theory, right? I think, look, if it just depends, like, I think if the government is serious about giving us some serious disclosure, NASA would be the perfect entity to do it through. Because again, you can say through NASA that these UAPs are definitively real, and that now we're going to give NASA $1 billion contract to look for it. I can see that happening.
And, you know, Neil, now that you mention it, you know, it occurs to me there's these NASA, I forget what they're called, but they're like these long shot programs, like things with like impulse drives and other, you know, non-traditional ways of driving spacecraft. And potentially, yeah, if NASA, if we find out that there are UAPs that are doing these completely non-standard, not rockets, maybe NASA does get billions of dollars to go research that, and they do eclipse SpaceX using crazy new technologies.
Well, the beautiful thing about NASA is that most of its equipment, it's not under classified, you know, they're not attached to an F-16. They're not, you know, they're not taking pictures of, you know, nuclear bases, at least as far as we know, you know, in Russia, or, you know, taking pictures of part of the world where we're not supposed to be taking pictures of part of the world because we have an agreement in some, you know, whatever NATO contract or something like that. But the thing with NASA is they got a ton of satellites. They've got a bunch of picture satellites. There's ways to access these things without revealing anything crazy. And they've just got the tools to do it, and they're in place. They're already there. Like, if if they just wanted to do the Galileo project, they could literally steal the thunder from Avi Loeb and just start doing it through NASA and come up with the answer first. And I think if NASA comes to the table with an answer on UAP or a really good hypothesis or a reason to study it, I think you immediately get a revamp NASA budget. I would think.
Yeah, I think it would totally transform the organization, probably.
I mean, completely.
It has to, right? Yeah, if we find aliens.
It has to. It has to. But anyway, that was just something fun that I wanted to talk about because we're going to be talking about it tomorrow because the news conference is tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, we've got, I think Tucker Carlson's thing is going to be dropping. So we'll have plenty of stuff to talk about.
It's going to be a good week.
It's going to be a good week. It's going to be a good week. We might get some information so people stop yelling at each other. So then the last thing I wanted to talk about, rather, because somebody had brought this up on the Facebook page. And by the way, guys, if you haven't checked out the Facebook page, we do have I've got an unidentified celebrity review Facebook page, and we've also got the Big Phone Home Facebook page. There's a private page and then there's a public page. You can join either one. I'll preview. Don't matter. They're both pretty much the same thing. So join them. But someone had a really cool question. And I didn't know the answer to this question because I'd never heard it put in this term. I think he was talking about an Ansible essentially. But the question was from MacArthur Lewis Saints on Facebook. And he says he was asking about, he wanted us to do a show on galactic modems. And so I was like, galactic modems. I know nothing about galactic modems. So then I asked Rather. And of course, Rather had a wonderful answer for me. So Rather, what was your interpretation of the question I asked you and sort of the answer you gave me on it?
Yeah, so I guess my interpretation of that was, if there was a civilization, an alien civilization that was propagated throughout the galaxy, how would they communicate with each other and, stay up to date on what's happening here and there? And this was actually an interesting topic that was covered, at the end of last year, there was a signal from Proxima Centauri, the closest star to us, that was picked up by the SETI Institute, or not the SETI Institute, but people doing SETI research. And they, found this possible signal candidate coming from this star. And there's a lot of rumors and hubbub about what this could potentially be. Jason Wright, who's an astrophysicist who's deeply involved with the SETI efforts, he had a really interesting take on what that signal might be. A little spoiler alert that the signal turned out to be interference, but these theories are still interesting. And he was saying that if there are aliens, in our galaxy communicating with us, they're probably not all communicating directly to each other. So, the spaceship that we're seeing, that the Tic Tac is probably not phoning home directly to whoever its home planet might be, but rather it'd probably be doing the same type of communication networks that we do here on Earth, where we'd have cell towers, relay stations that would all the local communication would go to that star, and then that star would beam it to the long distant star, and there'd be, this kind of whole network. So Jason's hypothesis was that, if we're seeing these signals from BLC-1, that might be that because that's the star, that's our cell tower in our galactic neighborhood. And that would kind of explain why we're not seeing signals everywhere. Because, all the traffic is all going to that star locally, so we're not going to see any of that. We'd only see the traffic coming from that local hub to us if it's communicating to us. So there's a lot less chance of communications being, just randomly intercepted by us. And I thought that's an interesting, take on what we might find from SETI searches.
Now I Become Death had a comment. He said it was their microwave making popcorn. I've heard this before. Wasn't that the excuse? One of the reasons they got the WOW signal? Was it the WOW signal or this signal that you're talking about at the end of last year?
No, the WOW signal has never been shown to be interference. I believe that hasn't been repeatable, but there was another signal that was from popcorn. This new one, this BLC-1, I don't think that they've actually identified the source of it, but they've looked at other channels that were observed during the same time, and they seem to be pretty sure that it was interference, unfortunately.
This is an interesting little hypothesis. Oumuamua was supposedly a comm relay station. That's not a bad idea. That's a great idea. That's a great idea of what it could be. I mean, dude, that's cool. Or it could just be a rock. We don't know because, like Avi said, we didn't get picture of it. Like,
well, yeah,
but,
that was one of the, I think that Alfie said that on the Singularity Lab, and he was talking about how it was spinning around in all, different orientations. And originally I kind of thought that meant that it probably was just a natural object, tumbling. But Avi gave that really interesting idea that maybe it's just scanning around in all different directions for signals.
Could be. Well, I do love my favorite. I've mentioned this book a couple times. Orson Scott Card, Ender's Game.
Love that book.
Love the book, but there's
so
there's a great machine in there called the Ansible, and it's essentially email across the galaxy, and it's instant. But the problem is that if you're in a different galaxy and you get there, you send your email, and yeah, it's instantaneous, but it's 50 years has passed on Earth. So you might get 2 or 3 emails in before that person's gone forever. Right? Like, it's cool to think about, but it poses the biggest problem with space travel. And it's like, I think if my girlfriend asked me this, she's like, if a UFO landed and they were like, like the situation from Close Encounters of the Third Kind, right? Where you got Richard Dreyfuss who gets in the suit and he goes on the ship, right? I don't think I would do that now because I've got something that I really love here. And for me to get on a ship like that, I know I'll never see my mom, my sister, nieces, nephews. Forget about it. It's all over. Yeah, Michelle, all over. It's gone. And we started with Michelle, Artemis. Okay, so to be
okay.
So all of that's gone. Like, I don't think I would get on the ship today. But if you came at me when I was 20, I'd get on that ship.
Well, yeah, and I mean, people made that decision back in the 1600s when they were coming to America. That was pretty much the decision, the life you're looking at.
That's a very good equivalent because they were essentially sailing into the unknown, right?
Yeah,
and knowing they could maybe probably never go back.
Yeah,
and I do want to touch a little bit on what you're saying, Lou, about the Ansible and instantaneous communication. Yeah. The one reason why I think that probably I want it to be possible, but it probably isn't possible, is because any form of faster than light information communication means that you can travel back in time, which is bizarre. And it's hard to even wrap your mind around that. But yeah, it seems like we maybe have already seen messages from the future if it was possible. It's hard to comprehend.
Yeah. Philip Shane says, just don't stop yourself from building Devil's Tower in your living room. Well, I did just order 14 pounds of mashed potatoes, so maybe I'll do that tonight. Sweet McLeod said, just realized that Roy from Close Encounters was a real asshole for leaving his family. He was a jerk, dude. He had 3 kids in that film and a wife. He was just like bye. I'm out, dude. Didn't say goodbye. He's a total jerk. But would you do it? Would you do it? Rather, would you do it right now?
Are we saying that we're 100% sure that they are aliens that are taking us here, and it's not just
It's the end of Close Encounters. Okay, they're there. Everybody's like, "Holy cow! You see this? People are filming it. It's a top secret thing." And they're like, "Hey, do you want to get in a jumpsuit? Because these aliens are asking us for you to get in a jumpsuit. You want in on this?"
I would not go on a Virgin Galactic spaceship, but I would go on that alien spaceship. I don't think I could live with myself if I said no.
Okay,
true.
Artie, what do you think?
If I had no other, responsibilities or anything, yeah. But reality sets in. I'd probably just bring my girls, and yeah, they want to be astronauts anyway. So it could be fun. Yeah, that my love, just travel the stars. Maybe why not? If I had to go alone, though, maybe not. Yeah, little space family.
It could be cool. Mm-hmm. Let me think. Yeah, I wouldn't, like I said, I wouldn't go now. But if I was 20 years old.
Yeah, if I was 20 or something, I don't even think I'd question it. I'd be like, bye.
I would not. I would just find,
do
you have one of those zip up suits that would actually fit me? It'd probably be my only concern. But yeah, what do you got, brother?
I do love Matthew Riot's comment here.
Yeah,
His
that's
family would
funny,
be
actually.
shoving him on it.
I think a lot of our families probably would be shoving us. Just go, kiddo.
We've had enough.
Delta Uniform says Steven Spielberg cocker spanieled returned from the spaceship at the end of CE3K. Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Was there a dog that came off the ship? I can't remember.
A dog.
Now that he's mentioning it, I think I do remember. You know how like at the end of the movie they had like the pilots that went missing in the Bermuda Triangle and all of these people that the aliens had took. They were all coming off the ship and they were doing like an exchange program. They're like, here are all the people we took from before, and then you guys are going to give us these new volunteers in exchange for these folks that haven't aged. Remember, like all the pilots that came off the ship at the end.
It's been a long,
I don't remember. Yeah,
I think I need to.
I'm like, I don't know. I'd have to rewatch it.
You guys need to go back and rewatch Close Encounters because it's really good. Anyway, but yeah, there's a whole bunch of.
It is really good. Yeah.
Movie where they, the one that sticks out in my mind is that flight formation of planes that went missing in Bermuda Triangle in like the 50s or something like that, early 60s, and they were never seen from again. That apparently they never found the planes, but I think they ended up finding some of the planes in part just off the coast of Fort Lauderdale or in the Bahamas somewhere. Anyway, I can't remember. I don't want to give you guys facts that I don't remember because it's been a while since I looked at it, but it was a cool sort of like, oh, so they've been here for a while. They've been taking people. It was cool. And then, the kid that they took in the movie also came out of the spaceship. But anyway. All right, you guys. That was a fun show.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for being here.
That was great.
Yeah, I had a good time. We had Bob McGwier chilling, Science Bob, which was a lot of fun.
I can't wait. I hope that he does get picked tomorrow and reports back to us on what's in the Mojave Desert.
I mean, are they leaving for Mojave tomorrow? Or are they announcing it and then leaving?
It's unclear, but I hope that's however it works. I hope that Bob weasels his way into there.
Man. Yeah, hell yeah. I would love for Bob to get there and come back and tell us about it. Okay, so real quick, Artemis, where can people find your stuff before you get out of here?
Yeah, Instagram, Twitter, Artemis Prime 24. I have my YouTube in my link tree as well. That's coming up. So yeah, subscribe and stay tuned.
Great. Excellent. Well, we'll see you on Wednesday.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Later.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Rather be squidding. Dude, that was a fun show. Thank you for being here.
Yeah,
you guys, I'm just going to bring it up. Wait, am I going to bring it up one more time? Should I bring it up one more time? Hold on a second. Let's see here. So I'm going to bring it up.
Just enjoy these DAS tapes tunes while you pull it up.
While I look for stuff. I just wanted to share one more time, you guys, the Big Phone Home website. Go check it out because we've put a ton of work into it. Oh, I killed the tunes while I did that. We put a ton of work into it. It's looking beautiful. Oh man, what happened here? Hold on a second. Is this the right site? Should be. It's all different. Didn't load up. It's all white. Huh.
Did it used to not be white?
No. This was. Hold on a second. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it could be that Ben's making some changes to the site right now, so maybe it looks a little weird. But here, we got it here. Here we go. We got it here. There you go. That's what the site looks like. So you guys, again, we've got a really easy. We've got the link for day 2 here. We're going to have the link for day 3 popping up soon. We've got our petition. We've got our ways to get in touch with your local and state representatives. We've got a phone call bullet point script for you guys. We've got an email script for you guys that can be doubled as a letter that you can mail. And we've got a Twitter a script for you guys as well to tweet at your local and state representatives. So you guys go check out the website. It's really easy, fun to use. As you can see, we're adding speakers every day. Lou Elizondo, Danny Sheehan, Hal Putoff, Dave Scott, Graham Rindell, Daniel Otis. The list goes on and on and on and on. We've got some announcements coming on Wednesday. We got a big announcement coming on Wednesday for a guest that we're having. I'm going to let UFO Jane make that announcement. because it was UFO Jane that helped book the guest, and she's going to be part of the ladies hour. I guess I gave a little bit clue there. So tune in on Wednesday, because we're going to be talking about some new guests coming to the Big Phone Home. We're also going to be breaking down the UFO film from J.J. Abrams and Showtime. And so that'll be fun. And hopefully we'll be doing that with John Greenwald. If he can make it by. He's checking his schedule now as we speak. So with all of that said, Rather, you got anything you want to say before we go?
Check out I'm doing some research on plasmoids, so go over to Rather Be Squidding and subscribe. There's going to be a cool new video coming out in about a week. But yeah, Big Phone Home, I'm really looking forward to. Yeah, it's going to be an amazing weekend.
Yeah, man, the excitement is building. It is. It's going to be really good. I don't know if you guys noticed, but they got the Big Phone Home poster from the first one. I finally got it on my shop. Looks good, right?
Yeah, it looks amazing.
Patches. I got Zignal's patches here, and I've also got a little artwork from Olaf Rockner there. So, and
of course, you've got the dolphin and the Tic Tac.
Yep, I've got the dolphin Tic Tac. I'm deciding what I want to do with this. I think I'm going to put it on my scooter, but I do kind of like it right there. But anyway, yes, Mark Salzman, we do have Hal Puthoff. We're just waiting on confirmation on what day or days he might be there. So we've got Rich Hoffman helping us a lot with the second day. Day 2 is going to be all scientists, science day. It's going to be a lot of fun. So again, stay tuned. The guests are still being added. And they're being added every single day. So get excited, because it's going to be a killer show. We've also added a couple of hours at least to day 1, because we've got so many guests. We've got to make room. So it's going to be longer than 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock. It'll probably be more like 9 to 7. I'm thinking, or 8 to 7, something like that, 8 to 6. We'll figure it out. But just stay tuned, guys. All of those things will be updated through the website. They'll also be updated here on the show. If you have any questions, don't hesitate. Thank you so much for coming aboard and getting weird for another episode of the Unidentified Celebrity Review. Your home for credible news, reviews, and commentary on everything UAP and UFO. Before we go, I want to say thank you to the sponsor, Blue Mountain Chronicles. I want to say thank you to DOS Tapes. They provide all the tunes on the show. Their Bandcamp link is in the description below. Other than that, you guys, have a great night. We'll see you Wednesday. Peace. Anything else, Rather? No?
Nope.
You're just gone? Okay. All right.
Later,
Rather. I'm going to tell y'all right now, all of these wonderful people would not be here without Patreon supporters like you. If you enjoy credible news, reviews, and commentary on UFOs and UAPs 5 days a week, you want to support this show. What's your name? Marty. Marty, look how easy this is, Marty. Pick up your phone. Boom! You're a Patreon member. I mean, look, it's so easy. You just click the link, which is right here. Just for $1 a month, you can support this show. Just fill out the information and pledge what's comfortable for you. It could be $1, $5, $10, or who knows. Just support.
Thank you.